What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to the ABJ Podcast. Kicking into the second month of season 3. Amazing guest here for the first half of this month. All this is also being pre-recorded, so if there's anything you hear that we're talking about that's in the past, it's not magic. It's just the power of editing. So thank you guys so much for joining the podcast. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe, all that weird things that we have to do on the internet to help those content creators grow, that being me. So it takes a couple seconds. It helps out more than you know. If you're listening on audio or video, hit the screenshot button. Take a screenshot, post it on social media, tag myself, my guest. Tell us what you thought of the episode, whether good or bad. Any support, feedback is great. We do have ways to support the podcast. If you are over on the YouTube side of things, you can subscribe. Cost nothing, watch some videos, it's great. Or we have a membership program where you can see all the videos before everyone else does, so you get early access to videos at that $5 tier. There is a $1 tier as well as I think there's another one. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't looked at it in a while. But we also have merchandise. You can check out the t-shirts, and available now. We have the season 3 t-shirt, as well as the ABJ t-shirt, as well as a whole bunch of other ones. The TeePublic will have limited run t-shirts that will only be available for a limited time, so you can grab those as they pop up. All that will be in my link tree, as well as all of my guest links. Make sure you follow them on all social media, support them, comment on their stuff, be like, hey, heard you on the podcast, did a great job, or boy, that was a terrible interview, you should have never talked to that guy. Whatever works, let me know. Support. Another one here coming from the world of independent wrestling. I do a lot of these. It's people think that they only can come on the show if they get half naked in front of a crowd and wrestle. That is not the case. I will talk to anybody if you're like chasing your dreams. I just happen to really be a fan of independent wrestling, and that's where my niche is. So without further ado, let's bring in my guest today. I have never met. We'll talk how we've connected here via the internet. So I'm very excited to learn about them, where they're from, how they got into this business as well. I'll let them introduce themselves. So let's bring in the guest for today. How you doing? Oh, we can't see you. Oh, there you go. All right, there you are. Tell us about yourself and who you are.
What's up, man? I'm Vince VALOR. I'm an independent professional wrestler. I'm out of the Buffalo, New York area. I'm excited to be on. I mean, this is fun.
What's that?
I'm excited to be on the show. I'm looking forward to this.
I appreciate you coming on and reaching out. How did you find out about the podcast?
Just new year, new opportunities. I'm scrolling through social medias, and I come across different promotions I'd like to work for, different podcasts I'd like to be a part of. Like, I'm open to anything, like whether it be working for new companies, being a part of somebody else's show, just different things. So I was scrolling through, and I came across your podcast and saw it as an opportunity to chat with somebody new and make new connections.
Awesome. I love that. So how long have you been in the business?
This is my 15th year in wrestling now.
Wow, you've been doing this a minute up in that Buffalo area. What school are you based out of? Like, where's your stomping grounds?
I trained at the Neo Wrestling Federation dojo in Niagara Falls, Ontario. I split some time. That's where I finished my training, and then I got some training as well at Grapplers Anonymous in Buffalo under Pepper Parks. Now I'm the trainer of the Buffalo Wrestling Academy. I'm actually starting class right after this podcast. So yeah.
Awesome. So now up in Buffalo, are you also teaching professional wrestlers and football fans how to properly go through tables on Sundays?
Yeah, that's a part of the training. It's advanced training.
I think that's if you buy a Buffalo Bills jersey, then you have to go to wrestling school so you can bump properly, so you don't hurt yourself in parking lots.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Bills Mafia is a crazy fan base.
Yeah, I love it. I listen. I'm a Washington fan. I'm a Commanders guy. It's been really fun to be a fan this year. It hasn't been for the past 30 years of my life, but Bills are a great fan base. I always say I don't hate the Eagles. There's only one team I don't like, and that's the Cowboys. Fuck the Cowboys. Yeah. But if we ever get a Bills Eagles Super Bowl, my God, the pro wrestling magic that would happen between those two cities would be amazing.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So let's kind of rewind a little bit. When did you fall in love with the industry of professional wrestling?
Falling in love with it, it was at an early age. I would say I was around 6 or 7 years old. I didn't know about it prior to that time, but my mother brought my sister and I to this daycare, and all the kids there liked it. They had all the videos, all the action figures, you name it, they had it. So like that was something cool the kids at the daycare were doing. So like that got me hooked on it, and then it just kind of snowballed from there to where it's like, okay, like this is something cool, and like these kids like it, so maybe I'll like it too. And like every Christmas and birthday thereafter was just I want the action figures. I want the videos. I love wrestling now, I guess. Like, it's my thing.
Yeah. I love the bumps in the background. You hear when it slammed down.
Oh, yeah.
So what type of kid were you growing up? Were you always into sports? Was becoming a pro wrestler always on your mind, or was it something that came later?
I was an athlete growing up. I played every sport. I did some basketball. I did some soccer. Football was what stuck with me during my childhood, and then but I was always a fan of wrestling. I didn't do amateur wrestling or anything when I was growing up, because like I just couldn't manage the weight. Like I didn't want to have to make myself miserable trying to cut weight for a meet or anything like that. So I focused more on football. Like I played football from the time I was 7 years old up until my senior year of high school, and then right from football right into wrestling. Once I graduated, like the week before I graduated high school, just jumped right into wrestling.
Oh wow! Well, how did you find your industry, and how did you get pursued into it? How did you find your wrestling school?
It's just a matter of researching where to actually learn how to do this, because like for the longest time there wasn't actually any wrestling schools in Buffalo. So like the closest place to train was in Rochester. So we loaded up a cart and went out there a couple times a week for quite some time, and then. But if I wanted to, I found a place that was close to me in Niagara Falls. That's where I'm from. Because of I wanted, if I was going to do this, I wanted to do it right. And at the time that I was training in Rochester, I had much more on my plate as far as jobs and relationships and stuff. So I wanted to clear my plate to where I could focus on wrestling. And then I found a place which is in Niagara Falls, Ontario. I'm from Niagara Falls, New York. So it was just a matter of driving over the border 4 times a week to train, which was a pain in the ass in itself, and driving over that border as often as I was, but that's where I got my training, was in Neo Wrestling Dojo in Niagara Falls.
That's awesome. You're American based, but you're a Canadian trained wrestler. That's wild.
Yeah, I got the best of both worlds, being able to wrestle in America and Canada.
That's awesome. That's a dangerous game as a professional wrestler too, because you get one alcohol charge, they're never letting you cross that border again. And we all know our wrestlers love a little cocktails here and there.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So your beginning stages of training, what was that school like, and what really stuck with that school that really helped you evolve throughout your career?
Being around that school, it's like every school you go to is different. Not so much what you learn, because it's kind of universally known all throughout, of everybody's learning kind of the different things through the progression of the training. But you'll be around different people and around different environments. Like I said, being so close to the border, I was able to be a part of the family of the Canadian wrestlers over there, and also spend some time training in Buffalo too, where I was able to make my friends and connections around here. So it was good to learn different perspectives in the early stages of wrestling. I was learning from my late trainer Jesse Scott in Canada, taking some time to learn from Pepper Parks in Buffalo. It was the best of both worlds, really, and you just learn everybody's different perspective and everybody's different values in wrestling.
Yeah. Now, as someone who trains yourself now, and you're a head trainer at a school, what do you try to encapsulate when it comes to the wrestling school that you're a part of now?
I try to take everything that I learned along the way and teach that to my students, to where even if I'm not around in forever in this, the things I teach, they can carry it along with them. And then one day, if they decide to open a wrestling school, they can carry it on to their students. I'm lucky enough to have been able to learn from many different people along the way, whether it be the people I trained under, or any training seminars I've done, or just any of the names I've worked with in wrestling. I take bits and pieces of what I've learned from everybody and apply that to my teachings at the school.
Yeah. What do you think this industry lacks now that maybe used to be there in the past, or what's good now that wasn't so good in the past?
Around here, the Buffalo area, I feel like it's not gone, but for the companies I work for, we're kind of lacking that camaraderie. And I try to keep that alive amongst my students. The people that I came up with, they're not doing this anymore, to where now it's, I've heard it a bunch of times, I'm the only one that's left from that era of people that were training around that time or wrestling around that time, to where everybody's kind of slowed down. I'm still going strong and trying to pass it along to my students so that they can have as long of a career as I did.
Yeah, definitely. Camaraderie is that's kind of a weird thing, because in the world of professional wrestling, I know a lot more people their eyes are being open to the industry, because it's having a boom again, and it's a different type of boom. I think the industry is a lot different. for like even in my 38 years on this planet, wrestling was kind of like that carnival style. It's like WWE just did a promo tonight and said shoot, work, carnival. Like they literally just laid it all out. Like, no, we're entertainment. This is not real anymore. Like it's a wildly different experience hearing like your major companies saying like, yeah, this is all predetermined. Like they lean into it now.
The business is constantly evolving, and like wrestling fans have become smarter, wrestlers have become smarter. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy to think like they announced it 100 times, like we're in the Netflix era, and like who's to say like what the next big step is, because this business is constantly evolving, and like everybody's getting out ahead of it.
Yeah, I've been saying for a minute, I said the worst way to promote wrestling in 2025 or 2024 is to try to, like, I mean, it is good to work people. Like, that's still a cool aspect of the business. But when people, like, trying to say that it's not predetermined or it's not entertainment and it's not like we're friends out there, when people feel like they're being duped, they don't want to participate in a product. But if they feel like they're part of the theater aspect of it, they're going to enjoy it more, and if they're going to watch it like it's a Marvel movie and not like it's a Sunday night football game.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like we still have to protect the business at all costs, but it's gotten to a point where like anybody that will try to poke at it and be like, oh, this is fake, this is like there's people that'll get mad about it, but like what does that help? That doesn't make a fan out of them. So like rather than get mad about it, like it's better to educate them and teach them about this stuff so that they do become fans of it.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't want people to feel like they're being scammed, right? Like everything we do in today's society, you go on the internet, you click a wrong website, you get a text message and you answer it wrong, you open an email wrong, you're getting scammed, you're getting hacked, you're being duped, people are lying to you left and right. So kind of being like, listen, it is what it is, but we're here to entertain, not trick you. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. And if we do trick you, we got you. You know what I mean? Like, like everyone walking into a magic show knows 100% that what they're about to see is not real, but it's awesome to try to figure it out. And that's kind of how wrestling is approaching it now, which I very much enjoy.
Yeah, of course.
And the smart fans are getting worked so easily, and I love that too. The ones who think they're in on it the most are the ones getting worked the best. Yeah, that's super fun. How were the beginning stages for you in that New York / Canadian border of finding your place in this business and navigating that?
I don't want to say it was too tough, but it wasn't too easy either. It was just kind of like I was able to navigate it well because I was surrounded by good people and like learning under good people. Like I didn't like I'm proud of like where I trained because I got a high quality of training and learned things the right way. I wasn't just it wasn't a money grab where like here, pay for your training and go participate on shows you're not ready for. Like my trainer like made sure I was completely ready before actually sending me out there and giving me his approval. But like once that became a thing, like the toughest part about navigating it is that like my trainer was great at what he did, but he wasn't actively like on the road every weekend wrestling. So it was harder for me to get opportunities that way without like, you just kind of had to meet people or like arrange carloads of students and go to a show that you're not booked on and just hope for an opportunity or like hope to meet the right person that can lead you somewhere. Because like if asked, my trainer would have given his approval on me, but he wasn't actively taking me out there and putting me in front of people to like get me those opportunities. So like that's why it's important for me now. Like I'm on the road every weekend. I'm actively doing this to where like I can like don't get me wrong. I love the quality of training I had. I love everything my trainer did for me. But I'm trying to give my students something I didn't have to where like I can take them on the road and use whatever leverage I have with the companies I work for to get my students opportunities. And so it was tougher to navigate things that way of having to kind of go out there and find things on your own. But I'm better off for it.
I always think too, like personality traits, people are introvert, extroverts, and to try to like enter a world where the professional wrestling world where you're essentially giving your body up to somebody in a trusting aspect of like, please don't hurt me, don't paralyze me. I probably don't have health insurance and we're getting both paid $20 for this. But also like, I'm going to drive 45 minutes away to someone to a place I'd never been before, people I've never met, and then give them complete trust with my body. Like that's a wild thing to wrap your head around.
It's a terrifying thing, especially like when you like, because like some of my students, they'll start at like an adult age, like late 20s, early 30s, things like that. I started at 17 years old, where like this is not only my entry into wrestling, this is my entry into adulthood. Is like being around this type of stuff.
And if you enter the wrong place, someone can easily take advantage of you, hurt you, use you as a crash pad for that night. Like it could be bad. It could be real bad. Yeah. So when you're doing that traveling and you're going from show to show now later on, like actually let me rephrase that. So growing up, you didn't really. I'm trying to paraphrase this to people if you're listening and they're not pro wrestling fans. There's a lot of schools that have the school and they do shows at the same time. So your promotion growing up didn't have that aspect where if you went to school there, they also ran promotions in schools. You still had to go out and find your own thing.
No, they did. So like that was the home promotion, like the Neo Wrestling. Like they did have the school, but they also had their own company as well. So I was able to get opportunities there, and like I think there was where I like that was my starting point to where I could meet people and like meet fans and things like that. That got me comfortable in front of an audience. But like you're only going to get so good by only working your home promotion. So you got to venture out and find different places. But like being lucky enough to where I could like wrestle for Neo while I was training at the school, like that gave me an opportunity to make connections with people so where I could get out there.
Yeah. So what were some and this doesn't have to be in your early stages. It could be even in today's time. What are some setbacks or adversities you overcome or you deal with on a regular basis in this industry?
Injuries is a big one. I've had two injuries that have required surgery and have put me out for an extended period of time. But I like, even for those being setbacks, like I've been able to learn from it, because like you learn more from being able to like, as much as you can learn in the ring, you learn just as much by watching and being on the sidelines and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. Like even for the time that I was out on the shelf with injuries, like I was going to events and like I'm able to watch and help out with different things and teach myself different roles in wrestling. Like last year I was out for 6 months with a torn puck. But like I was able to teach myself different roles. I did ring announcing for a night when I was asked. I did commentary. I helped agent and book certain cards. Like it taught myself different roles, and like everybody goes through different setbacks, different things. But like injuries is a big one. Early out when I was starting, like I wanted to put everything I had into wrestling, and like financially this isn't the most responsible decision, but like it gave me the experience because I was bouncing around different jobs, and like I couldn't like. It was a matter of like the jobs I was working that didn't understand what this was. To where like, oh, we need you to work this weekend, or we need you to work next weekend. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like wrestling is like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. Like I need to be out there. Like, and all right, well, you can have this weekend, but we need you next weekend. It's like, no, you're still not getting it. This isn't a negotiation. It's like I need weekends off, to where like I had to bounce around a bunch of shitty jobs where I could find the right one that was like was accommodating of it and it did understand it and was supportive of it. So like. Yeah. And like that's a common thing with a lot of wrestlers, especially once starting out, to where like their jobs don't understand it, or their significant other doesn't understand it, or the families don't understand it. It's like you got to find people that are supportive of it enough to like understand that like how demanding the wrestling schedule can be.
Yeah. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, brother. I'm actually in that battle right now, is trying to find that weekend thing. But it's tough. I can never just be someone who and I don't wrestle. I don't go out and do it. I do commentary. I do those odd job roles where I go and get content. But it's just like I can't just imagine punching a 40-hour week, coming home, watching TV, getting a shower, going to bed, waking up, and just doing that every single day for the rest. Like not having a hobby, not having an outlet, not being able to be creative or making art, like just would drive me crazy. I would like, what is my purpose here? You know what I mean? Like even if it's not going to change the world for everybody else, at least for me, it gives me some shred of dignity and happiness that I can do something besides punch a time clock every day.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. So injury wise, you said you got 2 injuries. Were they during matches, or were they just like freak accident type injuries?
They were both during matches. I broke my wrist in 2012, and that set me out for. I was supposed to be out for 9 months with that one. So I broke my wrist in 3 different spots and had surgery there. I came back after a month and a half. Not the smartest decision, but I missed wrestling that much where like I just rushed the recovery. And then, I tore my pec in September of 2023, and that put me out for I still wrestled for like another 2 months with that, because like I had a big match coming up. I was like, I need to get through that. I was like, after that cut me open. I was like, you're going to cut me open anyway. It's like, it's already torn. We might as well just tear the whole thing. But,
you pulled a Cody. You just know there's no more damage I can do here. Yeah. Were you able to finish the match in both?
Like, let's do it.
In both aspects, were you able to finish the match, or did you have to call it short?
Yeah, the first one that happened so long ago, it's hard to really recall the situation. But like this previous one, like I remember in the match, like the ref was like, "Do you want me to call it? You want me to call it?" I was like, "All right, two things can happen. Either you call this match and I go to the back and I'm hurt, or I finish what I started and I go to the back hurt. Either way, I'm hurt. It's like this injury isn't going to go away whether you call the match or not. It's like let's finish this." It's like, so I tore the pec and then I got speared through the timekeeper table. So like that gave me time to like evaluate what's going on and like what I could and couldn't do, and then wrestled for like another 10 minutes on that, and then went to the back and like. That was that. Like, doctor checked me out. It's like, oh, doctor's always dislocated shoulder. And then I got the x-rays, MRIs. Like, oh, you tore your pec. You're going to need surgery. You're
really? He's seen a torn pec and thought it was dislocated shoulder?
The doctors in West New York wrestling aren't the brightest.
I was going to say, I've dislocated a shoulder, and I've seen a torn pec, and they're two widely different looking injuries. Yikes.
Yeah.
Torn pecs are no joke. That's probably my biggest fear, because watching it pop too, that's gross.
It just felt like my arm wasn't there, like I didn't have an arm anymore.
Yeah. So once again, kind of peeling back the curtain a little bit, are you someone who before the match you guys have the key points you go over, or are you a call in the ring type person?
A little bit of a mixture of both, because like you plan for bullet points. Like you can't plan step by step because if something goes not how you want it to, like you can't just follow the script to a T and expect that. Like you don't know what the audience is going to react for. Like you can watch the matches prior to you or watch the matches after you and like know what's going to work and what doesn't. But like you can't plan step by step like that of like this will get over. This will get over. It's like you don't know that. Like you don't know until you get out there and you feel out the audience that way.
Or you tear your pec and you're like, well, I can't lift you anymore, so here's how we have to call an audible.
And in that moment, you got to make those adjustments. But like that's why I'll credit it back to my quality of training, to where like he made sure I was able to like call things on the fly or make adjustments when need be based off audience reactions, things like that. And like the more experience you get working in front of different audiences, like it helps. Like work the big shows, work the small shows where there's 20 people there and they're not going to know any better anyway. Like you be able to, like I've been in situations where like you can just have fun with somebody and you develop this chemistry where it's like, yeah, we'll just go out there and call it on the fly. Sometimes that works. So there's sometimes where you got to hammer things down a little more if you're in there with somebody a little less experienced, but you get the best of everything.
Yeah. Here's a question, and I'll ask you from your point of view on this. You have a lot of people who now are obviously with the boom of professional wrestling, where they're watching, they're just used to what they see on TV, and then they look at the independent scene as like a step down or like this, and I don't like that. Like I feel like that's where the heart and soul of the business is. I'm not saying they don't have the same heart and soul on TV, but it's kind of like what it used to be, like watching college football or high school football and then watching pro football, where that heart and determination is there because they're grinding that more. So you're in a situation where, say, you're wrestling for 15, 20 people. How do you approach a match or something where there's 1,500 people or 20? How does the average pro wrestler, do you feel, adjust their mind state according to both? Or is it just like, hey, I'm entertaining, I don't care the crowd size, I'm going to go out and do my thing?
Whether it's a big crowd or a small crowd, like they paid their money. And like at the end of the day, we want them to be return customers. Like you can't just go out there and think, oh, there's 15 people out here, I'm just going to phone it in. Like, no, like you obviously don't have to go out there and kill yourselves because there's 15 people. Like you want to be able to have a safe enough match in front of those 15 people to where you can wrestle the next week in front of the 1,500 people. Yeah. But like it's a different thing. Like you wrestle in front of those bigger crowds, obviously, like there's more money involved in that. Maybe there's bigger production elements, things like that. Or you wrestle in front of these smaller shows to where, like, I find that the smaller shows in the smaller towns, they believe in it a little bit more. To where, like, some of them want to come just to be entertained, and like we offer them that entertainment. Or like the bigger crowds in front of the bigger venues, like they look a little bit deeper into it, and they want to be able to pick it apart a little more and go online and tell their friends about what they watch, things like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like it's a business, and we need to have those return customers. You can't just go out there and like expect that these people are going to be there. You have to give them a reason to be there and give them a reason to come back and continue to come back.
Yeah. Totally. And that honestly, I love the smaller aspect shows. I love the smaller aspect shows, watching a band, watching pro wrestling, like any form of entertainment art. I kind of find those dive bars where it only holds a certain amount of people, or venues that hold, they don't really get big crowds, because for me anyway, I feel like you watch highlight videos of old, like guys who are on TV now, and you watch their old highlights, and nine times out of 10, their crazy highlight spots or moments where they connected with the crowd the best is when there was the least amount of people there. Also, you said return on investment. You value the people's time, effort, and money to be there, but then also those smaller shows, you can connect more with the audience, and you could build return customers because you're out there like networking and talking to them and letting them see not just your character side, but you as a person. Because you could be the biggest heel in the ring, but maybe outside the ring, you don't play that character to a complete T, and then someone gets to know you, or even like on a podcast level, and they're like, oh, I want to support this guy even more now because I feel like I connected with them. Where you're not going to get that on WWE. You're never going to see those guys out around the ring, or unless you paid $1,500 for a ticket, they might clap your hand on the way through. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. No, totally. And I think that's why I like GCW and stuff is like really fun, because they know their fans. They understand who travels for them. They know who those return customers are, and they really treat them like gold for those good people who always keep coming back and supporting them. Where sometimes those big TV companies, you're just another body in a seat for them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So when do you feel like you hit your peak, or have you yet in your career?
I feel like I'm in it right now, actually. I've heard from people like that I learned from that, like, you don't really start to hit your peak until like your mid 30s with this. I'm 32 years old right now, to where like I feel like after 15 years in this, like I don't feel like I'm in the sense of slowing down, but like I feel like I have a lot more like in me, and like I feel like I'm in like the right experience level to where like I'm firing all cylinders right now, and like I've had my big moments like 5-10 years ago, things like that, but I'm also like doing a lot right now to where like I feel like I'm in the peak and prime of my career right now.
Yeah. Where did you land the name, the gimmick, the character of Vince VALOR?
It's kind of just me. I mean, valor meaning courage and bravery. Like I feel like that was something that I could apply to a character. Like the Invincible nickname, it was something that like was given me during high school football. It's just to play on words with my name, Vince. I mean, it's just like with these names in wrestling, you kind of just like put it together and like think of like, how would this sound as a wrestler name? And like that was kind of what it was. It's like, it just Invincible Vince VALOR. It's like, oh, there's something to that. Like we can start there and then build off of it, and that was the thing.
I do like this. Now I haven't seen a lot of your gear, but just gonna pop this up real quick on the screen. I see or hear a name, Vince VALOR, right? And 9 times out of 10, when people hear that name, you're like, oh, they're gonna lean super hard into the American flag, the Patriot, the military look, the whole nine. Purple trunks, zip up jacket, arm pads. Like your look is way different from what my mind would think if I hear Vince VALOR is coming to the ring. Like I thought you're gonna be waving a flag and like.
I try to have my like. I don't want to do too much of an outlandish gimmick to where like it's not me and it's not relatable. Like everything I do, like I try to make it relatable to the audience and like be true to who I am, because like it's let's say they do see you outside of wrestling and like you present this big cowboy type gimmick, and then they see you driving a Chevy Cobalt. It's like things like that. Like
I love that. It's a great example because I've seen that numerous times.
Yeah.
Like dude walks in with cowboy boots, leather vest, straw hat, the whole nine. He goes out to his Ford Festiva. It's like, what?
Yeah.
All right, your steel horse is crazy. It's like a pony.
Yeah.
Who do you pull from when it comes to, like, if someone were to say like growing up you were a fan of this wrestler or this person, or who do you pull inspiration from when it comes to the idea or the style of your wrestling?
My favorite wrestler of all time is Eddie Guerrero. Everything from his in-ring work to his promos to his passion for the business. His passion for the business is something that like is very important to who he was as a wrestler. But as far as like my inspirations for like who I study and who I learn from, if not Eddie Guerrero, my second favorite of all time would be Christian. Christian is such an underrated wrestler, and he's always has
right
been.
now. He's so much fun right now.
He's doing some of his best work right now, and like you think about it, like there was never like a bad point in Christian's career to where like he wasn't as good as he is now. It wasn't as valued as it is now. But like
it's almost like you think about it and you're like, why didn't they pull the trigger on him? And now AEW has him. And they're like, oh, they're gonna pull the trigger on him. They're gonna make him that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but like guys like Christian, Dean Malenko is somebody I value a lot because like you watch and study his matches, and like I don't think anybody was able to like keep things on track in a match as well as Dean Malenko did, or like guys like Dean Malenko, Bret Hart, who were able to pull the best out of their opponents. I've had this talk recently with a couple of my peers in wrestling. Kurt Angle, like if you think about it, who was like, there's nobody better than Kurt Angle, because if you really like dive into it, like okay, like nobody was able to have that type of range as a wrestler to where like he could do the comedy shit, but like when the bell rings, he's on. Like I watched an episode of SmackDown once where like he's out there cutting a goofball promo, and then 3 minutes later he's wailing on Kane with a chair, just beating his ass to the ground. It's like who else is able to do that? But like you think about it too, from that time to where like some of the greats around that time, Eddie Guerrero, Benoit, am I allowed to say that name? I don't know.
Yeah, you're fine.
Mysterio, Brock Lesnar, Shawn Michaels even. They all had their best matches with Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle gave a lot of these guys their best match.
Yeah. Kurt's amazing. I got to meet him. He was a really cool guy.
Names
in the business.
A couple of years ago, he's awesome.
Who of you, any names out there that people would know that you've got to work with, grapple with, pick their brain?
Probably the biggest one I've gotten to work with in the ring is MVP.
Nice.
I learned a lot from him. Started out as a singles match, broke down into a tag match. He and I were the baby faces, but like I was able to pick his brain and learn a lot from him. I've worked with guys like him. I've worked with Nunzio, Hornswoggle. But I've worked with a lot of names over the career. I've been able to learn different perspectives from different people.
How tall are you?
6 foot.
I was gonna say you look taller. I thought from the promo photo, I thought you were like 6'5", 6'6". So you said Hornswoggle. I'm like, that's probably fun. That was
It's a great match. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's crazy too that people don't realize in this industry, and I don't know from like a music standpoint or other forms of art or any other business where this applies to, but you can see someone who is at the brink of like that light switch moment where it's like, oh, I've been told that 100 times and now it clicked, right? And sometimes those moments happen when that name that has hit higher levels of this industry come in and work an independent show, and you have that 10 to 15 minutes to pick their brain or maybe even work them in a match, and then it just makes sense because you kind of get that rub. And it seems weird to think about, but you only have 10, 15 minutes with them, but it feels like you got 3 years worth of experience in that 15 minutes because you got to pick their brain.
At the end of the day, it's like some of these big names that come in, like they're in this for the same reasons we are. They're just one of the boys. Like some people are too afraid or intimidated to try and learn from them. It's like, no, they're here. They some of them want that. They want to be able to pass along their knowledge. Like Tommy Dreamer is somebody that I've had the chance to be around quite a bit. Like he and I traveled to a show not too long ago, and like just be able to sit and listen and learn from him. Like I've worked with him a couple times. He's great to learn from. He's somebody that's been in every company and done everything there is. But you come across these guys, they're just one of the boys. Like that's all, and they want to be treated as such and still feel like they're able to offer to this business and help mold the next generation of like teaching them the things that they learned.
Yeah. So key moments or accomplishments that you've had in your career.
More recently, I wrestled for GCW back in September of this previous year. Prior to that, I had a shot on AEW Dark a couple of years ago. I've done won a lot of championships along the local region, but like ultimately, I'm just enjoying what I'm doing. Where every match I have is like a milestone to me because like it gives me a chance to work with somebody new, and like whether they learn from me or I learn from them, every match is a big one.
What did you do in GCW?
I wrestled Briar Wellington, or Richie Boy, whatever he may be known as.
Okay.
But it was in September of last year in Rochester, which I know they have another event coming up in Rochester, and hoping to be a part of that as well.
Yeah. And what about your AEW appearance? Who did you work on the dark?
I wrestled John Silver for them.
Oh, okay. Another New York guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, little Johnny Hungry. I met him in person. I did not have a great experience, but I tried to hold it against him. I was the only. It was a Legends Con, and it was packed full of all these like old school legends. And I was the only person. I'm a huge Brody guy. I loved Brody since he was Chikara onto WWE onto AEW. So the Dark Order was my shit. And I walked. I was the only one wearing a Dark Order T-shirt, and I went up to him and Alex, and they were just like, too cool to talk to anybody. I was bothering them, and I was like, first off, no one's at this table. Everyone's at every other legend. You're the only like. There was 2 tag teams from AEW there. It was them and the Acclaimed, were by the end of the show. Everybody was at that table because they were 2 different interactions with fans, and it was just, it's disappointing to like that. I kind of like thought more because Johnny Hungry seems like the coolest dude when you watch him on TV, and then I met him and I did not have a good experience. Yeah, but I'm sure he's a nice guy. Probably just caught him on a bad day. The building was a sauna. It was the old Hamburg Field House. It was. I thought I was dying of a heat stroke that day. Influences and role models. It could be either in the industry or just in your personal life.
Personally, I mean, as far as like wrestling is concerned, I learned the most I could from my trainer. He taught me everything I know as far as wrestling. Personal life, my parents, my mother especially, my father, like they've been nothing but supportive of my career, and like that's I mentioned earlier, that's the biggest thing is to surround yourself with people who are supportive of this. Like I've come across many different people in this industry to where like their home life with their families or their significant others, they're not supportive of this, and like it sucks to hear that because like somebody's living their dream, and like you want to be around people who actually like support what you're doing. But like I'm lucky enough to have a family and friends outside of wrestling who have been nothing but supportive of what I do. So like to me that's a big like role model type influence for me.
Are they coming to all your matches?
My mother comes to everyone locally. Yeah,
I love that. Is she one of the biddies who gets completely invested, yells, screams?
Now she is like because she's been around this for so long and seen everything I've done. Like, but like the early stages of it, she was just a nervous wreck. And there's times where she still is, depending on the matches I'll do. But like she enjoys it, and she knows what it is.
We have this one wrestler's mom who comes to all the shows, and you would think she is watching matches from the 60s. She's completely invested no matter what happens in that ring, good guy or bad guy. She is completely locked in. She's the best fan in the building. She'll try to hook him with her cane when they walk by. Like she's the old lady who would stab Roddy Piper back in the day. You know what I mean? Like she is that fan. I love her.
Sometimes that's my favorite thing. Like I've wrestled somebody, like more recently I wrestled somebody in Ontario to where like, yeah, my mom's in the crowd. It's one of her first times here. It's like, oh really? Like let's play with that. Like, yeah. And then now we'll make your mom the star of the show, and like things like that. They like that interaction to be entertained. Now his mom reaches out all the time, and now we're the best of friends.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's special. Like I got really fortunate with my my partner now, brand new to wrestling. Like the last year and a half of meeting me, like she's like I'm just teaching her now like Eddie Guerrero and stuff. Like she loves Eddie. Like it's like feeding a baby bird. Like they've never seen this before, and now her daughters are into it. And I brought them to their first show. And we got to meet them before the show. I was like, these guys are all bad guys. So like tonight, like right now, they're really, really nice to you and they're the greatest people. But when they come through that curtain, their job is to make you cry. And they're like, oh, we'll boo them. And I'm like, you better. And then like they were just on it, like, you suck. And then after the match, like, we still love you. Yeah, but it's awesome when people are. I just feel like people are understanding wrestling different, and the fan base is understanding the business differently. And it's just, I feel like it's getting to a point where it's becoming cool to be a wrestling fan again. Like all the top podcasters, all the top TV networks, everything is like being engulfed, and that does help with TKO as the biggest media company in the world, and their focus is the WWE. And I just hope it trickles down everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Goals you have set for yourself personally or in your industry coming into 2025?
My goals in the industry is to be more active than ever. Like I said, the injury last year, it set me back quite a bit to where like I missed 6 months of the year. Even with missing that 6 months, I finished with 62 matches across 15 promotions.
Wow.
Won 4 championships. I mean, like, but now it's like taking everything I did in the back half of that year. Now let's start the new year fresh and build off that and be busier than ever. It's like the goal is wrestle all weekend, every weekend, anywhere I can, anywhere it's willing to have me, and or my students for that matter. Like an accomplishment for my students is an accomplishment for me because I'm able to see them grow and see them succeed. So like that's my goal. Like I have my goals for myself, but like I just had to talk with my students last week about like asking them. It's like what are your goals? And like write everything down in the dry erase board. It's like okay, like how can you achieve this? What can you do, or what can I do to help you? So like it's important that way to help them achieve their goals.
Who are some students now that people should be keeping an eye on? We'll plug them on the episode here. Maybe people look them up.
Got a lot coming up. Buck Wild, Tommy K, Matt McCoy, Darren Crow, Groff, Cal Keaton, Brennan the First, Jack Isaac, who actually just had his first match this past weekend against me. Because like that's important to me because my goal, I'll circle back to the goals because like my goal right now is to wrestle all my students because that's something I never had. All I ever want, like I've wrestled everybody I wanted to wrestle, but like I never got to wrestle my trainer. Like and like he and I talked about it for years. The pandemic kind of ruined it because he and I were opposite sides of the border, things like that. It was supposed to happen a couple times and it just never did. I talked about last year with the injury. So last year as well, I lost my best friend in wrestling, Anthony Gaines, in February. The following month, I lost my dog. And the following month, I lost my trainer. 3 months, lose three of the most important figures of my life. And then like that's it. It's like, okay, now I'll never get that match with my trainer. So like when that happened, I made the promise to my students, like, okay, like I'm going to wrestle each of you. It was like, before I go anywhere with this, like I need to wrestle all of you. So like to give you something that I didn't have. And like, I try to teach them the importance of that. It's like, this is important to me. So I want this to be important to you as well. And they're all appreciative of it. They all value it. Like I said, this kid has wrestled on Saturday. He's been training with me since he was 16 now. He just had his 18th birthday. And like, I told him like a couple months out, I was like, when you turn 18, I'm your first match. Like I promise you. And like, sure enough, I was able to do it. So that was cool for both of us.
Or if he's good at that younger age, you just throw him in a mask. He's the midnight kid. No one asks any questions. He goes out in front of a crowd. Never seen that happen before in pro wrestling.
Not at all.
Never seen that masked wrestler who does not approve of the council. What are some hobbies and interests you have outside of the world of professional wrestling? So when you're not training and you're not helping others and doing this yourself, what do you do to cut back, loosen up, find entertainment and other aspects?
Outside of wrestling, I'm just chill because of how busy I keep myself with wrestling, whether it be running the school or be on the road every weekend. Like I value my downtime to where like I could spend my time with my family or I chill at home with my cat and catch up on whatever I like to watch. Like, I'm just very chill outside of wrestling, where like I don't take on too much outside of this because of how consuming this can be for me. It's a matter of being around the people I love outside of wrestling.
When you say you like to watch stuff, are you like a horror, a comedy? What are we watching? What are you into?
More of like comedies and horror movies. I can never like for the life of me like get into like binge watching a show just because like I don't have that kind of time for it. Like. Yeah. And like, as much as I'd love to, like it's so like that could be just as time consuming as wrestling is. Like I can't just sit there and binge watch 13 episodes of hour-long shows. Like God bless the people that can, but I just can't. Like, but I'm into comedies and horrors. I tell people, it's like, okay, like I can watch a movie. It's like a 2-hour investment, and then like you can tell your story in that 2 hours. But like there's a difference between movies and shows for me. But like I'm into comedies and horrors.
Yeah, I try to watch more movies and not shows because I don't have time to consume myself into them. And then something grabs me and I'm like, son of a bitch, now I got to watch a 14-part mini docuseries on the murder of JonBenet Ramsey. And because I want to know every detail. Yeah. I was like, why did I do this why did I start this at 12 o'clock at night? Now it's 3 a.m. Yeah, son of a bitch. Yeah, I'm the same boat. I try not to do stuff much because, I mean, if I'm not interviewing wrestlers or doing this, I'm watching Raw, I'm covering Raw, I'm Monday, Tuesday, there's wrestling on every day of the week, and I'm trying my best to consume it all and still support the independent scene. There's no time. Yeah. So as a coach, this question is a home run for you, but what are some encouragements to a beginner? And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the world of professional wrestling. It could be anyone chasing their dreams or just trying to take that path to pursue something they're interested in.
Don't be afraid to fail, or don't disappear from disappointment, because I've seen a lot of people come and go to where they try this and they don't get it right away, or they don't they don't reach their goals and they disappear from it. I've seen a lot of people come and go, or they get into it and not understand what it fully is, to where I tell this to a lot of my students too. It's there's times where you do have to allow this to consume you, not in an unhealthy way where it's your whole life. You do have to have other stuff going on, but you have to you get out of it what you put into it. If you put in the bare minimum, you're gonna get the bare minimum out of it. But if you invest yourself, whether it be in and out of the ring, in the ring and training, or on the road, or in the gym, or studying tape, or the way you present yourself as a character, you have to be willing to invest yourself. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, how can you expect a promoter or a fan to invest in you? So that's a big thing in wrestling.
You got to log those 10,000 hours. You're not considered a professional unless you log 10,000 hours into your craft.
Yeah.
And you don't get it by not doing that work. And also, how you said before, your failures. I'm 38 years old, and I'm at a point now in my life where I probably have failed more than I've succeeded. And my failures used to mentally just mess me up. And I'm at a point now where I relish in it. I'm like, oh my God, I failed that many times and I'm still here. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing that the universe can throw at me that that I won't find a way to roll with the punches and keep doing what I enjoy doing. And it's almost like I'm looking forward to the next failure so I can learn on it, because I could just see myself growing through each failure I've had.
Yeah. A lot of it too is you got to think of it as it's a daily task. 24 hours in a day, you always got time to make yourself better at this. I try to look at each day. It's okay, what did I do today to become a better wrestler? Whether it be spending an hour in the gym, or putting out a big social media post that got some traction, or spend some time in training, or order new gear, things like that. I try to look each day. It's I go to work, I go home, I go to the gym, or I got my routine, but I got to do something each day to make myself a better performer.
Yeah, totally. Make sure you hang out backstage before this ends, because we're at the closing up here, and I definitely have to run more things by you here. But last question, second to last question. What are you grateful for, and are you currently happy?
Currently happy after everything I've had to endure in this business? Absolutely. I'm in as far as being grateful for things. I'm grateful to have been a part of this business as long as I have. Like I said, this is my 15th year in the business. I'm a coach at the Buffalo Wrestling Academy, to where I never saw myself as a trainer, and now I'm able to take everything that I've learned and pass it along to students who love this for the same reasons that I do. And this gives me longevity in the business, to where even after I'm actively done with this, I can still be a part of this in one way or another and help mold the next generation. So I'm just grateful to have my health. I'm grateful to be a part of this and teach people who want to be part of this to the extent that I am.
I love that. And the Buffalo Wrestling Academy, that does also shows as well?
No, we're just a school, but we have connections to different companies around the area.
Awesome. I gotta plant my flag more into that New York scene. The furthest I've ever gone in wrestling is Binghamton. That's as far as I got up to Excite Wrestling.
Wrestling. I wrestle for them quite regularly. Yeah.
Yeah, great people. But I gotta see a House of Glory show. I want to go to a Battle Club show. I have to go see Gleason's gym, Johnny Rod's school. I just want to experience that. I gotta get up in that Finger Lakes area, see if there's anything up there besides just great beer and wine. But the Buffalo area, this summer, that's my goal in 2025. Is
Empire State Wrestling is the big one around here. That's where I'm the heavyweight champion for there.
Where's that?
Empire State Wrestling, ESW.
Empire State. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely gotta. That's on my bucket list. I gotta come up. I'll come see you live. We'll lock it down. It won't just be a podcast interview. Where can people find and support you?
On every social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, or X, excuse me, Instagram. I'm on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Yeah, that guy rules the world now. Make sure you get his name right. Search
for Vince Valerie. You'll be able to find me anywhere.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that'll do it. ABJ Podcast. I appreciate you guys all so much. Appreciate you, Vince, for coming on the podcast, giving some great insight from someone who's been in the business as long as you have, as still an entertainer, but also trying to get back to that next generation. It was a beautiful, beautiful conversation. I really appreciate you reaching out. It was awesome. Make sure you guys go support the people up top above his head. Ruta Entertainment. Listen, I went to a lot of promotions where their title belts were not as nice as mine because I got mine from Ruda Entertainment, the TWF YouTube Intercontinental Champion, because I'm the workhorse in this business. I'm not a world champ yet, but I'm working my ass off for it. We also got the Tornado tag. You like the old school Golden Age belts?
Yeah.
Tell me this isn't gorgeous. Look at this. We got our logo up top, and it's that old school WWE original tag team.
That's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Ruda Entertainment. If you can dream it, he can make it. But also, you can get those belts that you can see on TV and not have to pay those shop prices. You can get them in zinc. You can get them in brass. He has everything you need. Hit up Ruda Entertainment. Also, the HTW Network, which is going to be another host of this podcast eventually in a couple days. You guys can see it here first, but it will air on the HTW Network. Great promotions, great shows. Make sure you check them out on social media. They're really close to their watch hours, so go watch some great content. And you can hear me on commentary and make fun of people and maybe get punched by wrestlers. Who knows? But that'll do it for the ABJ podcast. We'll see you guys next time. If you want to be a guest, please, links below as well. You can sign up for a guest. I'm always down to hear people's stories. We'll see you guys on the next one. We're out of here. All right.